Welcome to the Analyte. Here we discuss industrial hygiene news, laboratory analysis, and other business insights. In each episode, we speak to experts in their field to get their take on the latest trends and developments. We'll also explore the challenges and opportunities facing the industry and offer advice on how to stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a business owner, a health and safety professional, a consultant, or just someone who's an eternal learner, the Analyte is a podcast for you. I am pleased to welcome Dr. Daniel Farcas. He is an industrial hygienist who works for the consulting firm Ecology. He has 20 years experience, has a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Bucharest University, a master's in systems ecology and ecotechnique, also from Bucharest University, a master of science in forestry from West Virginia University, and a doctor of philosophy in human and community development from West Virginia University. He's a CIH, a CSP, a CHMM, and a certified fire stop inspector. And among other things, he's an author. And one of the things that he's written about and was kind enough to send me a book is his experiences and the experiences of others growing up in communist Romania throughout the 1980s and 1990s, and it's very interesting reads, and continues to write books on the subject of industrial hygiene. And I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Farcas to the Analyte.
Thank you so much for your invitation, Dan. I appreciate, and I'm so happy to be here in the Analyte studios. I am a big fan of your podcast. And, I was excited, so happy, to be invited.
Pleasure's all mine, man. You're a fascinating guy. And, I just thought, what a great conversation this could be. And you were kind enough to send me a copy of your book. And like I told you, I read it in one night. Tough topics, not a lot of great things happening to, abandoned children, but in Romania during communism. And I remember my dad was a military man. He was in the army, and we were stationed in West Germany during the late 80s. And so seeing the fall of communism and of course the Ceausescu regime falling, it was very, I was a teenager. I was in early years of high school, freshman, sophomore, when all that happened. And so that's burned in my mind, and so then reading your writings about those times brings back a lot of that, a lot of memories around that, and just how formative that was in the world that we live in today, and unfortunately really forgotten in the day-to-day. People, the last time I heard about Romania in the news was when Andrew Tate was being arrested. So it's like, there's so much more to that country and its history than just popular culture would suggest today. But great to have you on. You have an interesting life story. So I'd love to just hear, just a brief synopsis of your growing up experience, how you came to the U.S., and then how you got into industrial hygiene. We'll go from there.
Yes, thank you so much again for the invitation. And thank you for reading the book. I think Mark Twain said the best way to know me is to read my books, because you'll kind of understand how that person thinks and what kind of ideology has in his mind or her mind. And let me tell you something about myself. I grew up in Constanța, Romania. It's by the Black Sea. It's a small town by the Black Sea. And I think the first time I got interested, like in health and safety, was basically in high school, because I took physics, chemistry, and biology, and after that I decided to go to the chemistry university in Bucharest, and I applied there. Now the system there is different. When you apply, it's not like you have to pay. The university actually pays you. You have to take a test, and they pick up, only the best. So you take a test in physics, chemistry, and biology. and they pick up, the best top students, and actually the university pays you. So I kind of got in the biochemistry program with a scholarship already. And I think this is important because when you apply for a CIH, they look up at all the classes you took during college. And
Hmm.
I was lucky to get, like biology, chemistry, physics, basically all the classes that were instrumental. Technology actually was one of them. One of the classes, most of the classes that I needed to qualify to take the CIH exam. At that time, I had no idea what an industrial hygienist was, but I was taking the classes. And then after that, I ended up doing a master's in basically sustainable development, where I learned about society. I learned about the importance of like healthy people, like healthy people create healthy societies. And after that, I apply several universities in United States. Actually, I end up doing the GRE exam, the graduate record exam,
Sure.
and I got a pretty good score at math. I was about like 2%, up 2%, and I got several offers. With English, I was actually at 50%, uh, but it was okay. And I got several offers, and I choose, West Virginia University. I kind of like the Morgantown area. At that time, I had basically no experience. I haven't been to the United States before, but
Mhm.
I liked Morgantown, and it looked great. Like coming from like a sea level city, by the Black Sea, going up into the mountains, meeting the mountaineers was a great experience. And
Very
everybody
cool.
was friendly there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And I
Well,
got,
I got a 0% on my Romanian test, just so you
oh,
know. Yeah.
it's okay. I can teach you.
Okay, good,
Maybe
good.
maybe we should
Like,
organize like a industrial hygiene, goodwill trip to Bucharest, Romania. See, I'm sure you wanna see the Dracula's castle, right? The Carpathian Mountains, Danube Delta. We'll go see all of them.
love it, love
Yeah,
it.
who knows? Maybe we can do it like every couple of years. So.
You let me know, man. I'll sign up.
Yeah, so I came to United States and I got admitted, as I said, to West Virginia University. I did my master's. I got admitted to do actually master's in forest soil chemistry because they like the chemistry part. And during that time, I got lucky and I got hired actually in Morgantown, West Virginia, working for Cira and Associates, and actually working for CJ Cira was my first US employer. And I learned a lot about mold, asbestos, lead, and environmental in general. And those were a great time because those were like formating years for me. After that, I started my PhD. I got admitted again to WVU as a PhD student in the Natural Resource Management, basically division. And after that, I actually moved because I got a better offer during, like my PhD in human and community development
Hmm.
from Dr. Conley. And during the time, I keep taking these IH classes, like industrial hygiene, hazard management. I still had no idea what industrial hygiene is. But I got lucky again. I got hired by Morgantown NIOSH and CDC NIOSH over there, and I started working. And I had a great mentor, Dr. Martin Harper, who taught me about asbestos, about industrial hygiene. I did several studies about ethionite. And ethionite is a asbestos-like material, but it's not asbestos. It's a natural type of asbestos, naturally occurring type of asbestos. It still
Okay.
gets in your lungs. It still gives you mesothelioma, but it's not one of those commercials one. And I end up doing my thesis and publishing, my studies regarding Irionyte. So Dr. Harper actually was the one that said, you should, apply to become a certified industrial hygienist. You would make a great industrial hygienist. And that's how the whole thing started.
So they recognized your capability and
Yeah,
introduced you to industrial hygiene.
exactly. You need to have a mentor, somebody that will like pull you, from outside. It's like, oh, this is what you should do. You're great at this. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
I
I
was
did.
a late student, so when I showed up to my first industrial hygiene class, I had already like worked in a foundry, worked in manufacturing, had employees get injured, right? And so I sit down in this class, I'm like, you can get a degree in this?
Yeah,
So yeah, that's really cool.
yeah. I think we're lucky because as industrial hygienists, we go into so many areas. It's not boring work. I was
Mm.
doing a study about MRSA, about methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and I published the study, and it's about why firefighters, have actually like twice as much morbidity and mortality because of MRSA than the general public. And if
Really?
you, yeah, and there were cases where like nine firefighter got MRSA in one single day somewhere in New York, for example. It's an interesting article,
Huh.
you can read about it. Yeah. And my study, if you read the study, it shows that their turnout gear they have actually it behaves kind of like a petri dish because it grows all kind of bacteria on it. And most of us, we're fine, but some people get colonized by MRSA, by the bacteria. They actually grows there on them, and that's an opportunistic bacteria. And the moment they have, it has the chance, through like a simple cut to go in through your skin or your blood system, is gonna go in. So that's an interesting study. It's published. I think it's free now. You can read about it. But there's a microscope image there where it's like we're looking at 0.01, I guess, centimeters, and there's like thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of bacteria growing. And that's just from one small part on the turnout gear. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. So.
Wow.
And
So you got introduced by a mentor or professor, suggested you should look into this, and you published some work on it.
mhm.
Um, where did you go after you got your PhD? How did you become a full-time? I mean, did you start pursuing the CIH at that point?
So I after I had enough experience. It was 4 years and a half, I guess, into my NIOSH work. I remember at that time I was doing a study about nanotubes and nanotechnology. I applied. I had to have my transcript translated from Romanian to English, and they informed me like, "Hey, you can take the exam now." So I ended up taking the exam. It was a difficult exam, and that's why the books, actually the certified, professional book collection developed because when I took the exam, this was in 2000, 2018. Yeah, when I took the exam, back then there was like no book on CIH exam equations. So I
Hmm.
had to look from like 20 different books, identify equation here and there, and I put them together, um, you know, and I remember, my mentors and my colleagues said like, "Oh, this is very helpful. You should publish the book." You know, and I published the book, and it was a hit overnight. It's like 100 copies in a day. And they were saying like, "Oh, this is good." And I had no idea, but like, apparently it was like a big hit for the moment.
That's.
Then yeah.
It sounds like you took the test around the same time I did.
Hmm.
I think I took it in May of 2010. And you're right. There was very little study material
Yeah.
available. In fact, you know where I got my I found on Craigslist
Hmm.
someone was selling their study material,
Oh.
and and I went to their house. I was in the Houston area at the time, and I go to this lady's house, and for $80 she sold me this banker's box full of her study material, and she literally said, "I've taken the test 3 times. I haven't passed it. Good luck."
Yeah, I know it's a tough test. If you don't have the right materials, you're not gonna pass because you don't know where to learn from, you know. And that's why I created this book collection. I have two books. I have the yellow book, which is math, and the green book, which is basically all the literature, technological reviews, because it teaches you what you need to know to pass, but not anything more than that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing less, nothing more. It's basically the Goldilocks zone for CIH exam takers. You wanna make sure you fill your mind with the right things and you pass the exam. And I think it works because a lot of people, can see it in the reviews or, they send me on LinkedIn messages. It's like, oh, that book was great. It helped me pass. So, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So people can find these two books that you published on Amazon. Just search for Dr. Daniel Farcas and CIH equations. What are the titles of the
The
book?
CIH exam equations.
Okay.
Um, Basically, you just put CIH Farcas and you'll see two books. The yellow one, it's the math, and the green one that I did with Dr. Lorenzo Sina and Dr. Michael Henderson, CIH. It's the technological questions series. So basically, it's like the literature that you have to know. So you have to know math and you have to know like the technological literature. So you have to get those two books together.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I encourage people to go and check it out. Like I said, I've read your personal writings, and having already taken the test, I haven't picked up your exam equations, but I do get a lot of questions from up and coming hygienists about, hey, what do you recommend? And so I've recommended people look at your books because I know that you can never prepare enough for that
Yeah,
exam.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's great. So now that you're a published author, you've written some very helpful materials on preparing for the CIH exam. I understand you're doing a PDC at the upcoming AIHA Connect.
Yes, that's correct. So on Sunday, May 18, I have basically the CIH exam equations visually explained. And basically, I try to, take this CIH exam a step further and try to explain visually what happens, because like a lot of people did not understand how lasers work, what is reflection. Uh, let's say versus refraction, and I had to explain visually to them. They would sending me emails and I would try to do stuff in PowerPoint, and it's like, oh, that helped me understand. And so it's like, okay, at this point maybe math is not just everything on paper. It's so some part is visual, so
Mm.
let's do math visual. And apparently it's popular because if you go on Vimeo, I put the videos on Vimeo's, you can watch them, and a lot of people like them. I got good reviews, like sometimes it's difficult. It's like sometimes it's better to start with the visual or equation before you go into the actual math. It's kind of part of our brains. Like if I throw you a ball, you're gonna catch the ball, right? But your brain, in the back of the brain is gonna do all this calculation, and they do it like the brain does it in like uh, a quarter of a second. When you catch the ball. So all those math equations, you do them, in the back of the brain, and you react. but to put them on paper, it's a lot of work, for humans. Yeah,
Yeah, I would not want to have to diagram out or make a proof of how to catch a ball if it's thrown at you. I would
yeah,
rather just catch the ball.
yeah. And we see this robotic dynamics. They throw the ball, and it shows like what happens in the back of the chip and how it calculates, and the machine, the arm, the automatic arm catches the ball. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happens in our brain. But millions and millions of years of evolution, we can do faster. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, that's exciting. Well, today's the 9th, so we need to get this podcast out so people can register for the PDC, make a
Mhm.
quick change if they've registered for something else.
Well, it's I think right now we have 32 attendees, so I can get about like 28 more. And the price is 520 that's charged by the American Industrial Hygienist Association.
Okay.
Um, so, and you also get like 7 credit hours. So this will help you with the recertification if you need credits. So that's always good. Yeah.
I'm up for recertification this year, so I should probably look and see if I need some credits because I think I have till June.
You need to do your 40 credits.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Uh,
um, well, so is this something that you've done before at AIHA on this topic, or is this brand new?
so this is basically brand new. As I said before, the videos you can find them on Vimeo's. Again, you put CIH and Farcas. But this is something new, and I think it's good for our entire industrial hygiene industry because you actually visualize how the gas, for example, it's like, let's say you have a contamination, it spreads within the room. How many, room air clearances do you need to get rid of the contamination? So I think, in the future, especially, and I see this in my kids, they have different apps. Math is not math anymore. Math it becomes something visualized, something abstract. You know,
Hmm.
it's gonna change. The kids these days don't even use like paper and pen anymore. They do everything by pushing buttons or pushing on the screen. So I think that's the next step for us. We'll stick around to see it within the next 20 years.
Right. My
Yeah.
my three my three not 3-year-old, sorry, my third grader had standardized testing a couple of weeks ago, and
Mhm.
of course my first reaction was, "Oh, do you need a couple of extra pencils?"
Yeah.
For coloring in the boxes. She's like, "Pencils? Why would I need pencils?" I'm like, "Don't you fill in the little circles?" And she's like, "No, we use a computer and touch
Yeah.
the
I mean,
screen."
the whole exam, it's you doing this, you know. And if you don't push on the right side or, the right spot of the test, you're done. So,
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
that's
technology
how
is
it works.
changing so fast and so many cool. There's all kinds of great apps that are coming out now. One of the things that's actually been something that's sped up my work recently has been AI, where I'm okay working with Excel,
Hmm.
but I never got into pivot tables, right? I
Yeah.
just, for some reason, there was some kind of mind block there where I just couldn't figure out how to use a, a pivot table. And then ChatGPT comes along, and all of a sudden you can be like, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me step by step on how to set up a pivot table for this kind of a spreadsheet,"
Yeah.
and then it just walks you through the steps. And now all of a sudden I'm an Excel genius
Yes.
because
Yes.
I have a digital assistant I can ask to tell me how to do it, and man, it's just
Yeah.
quicker and quicker and quicker. It's,
Yeah.
it's great.
Having the right teacher or the right mentor, because AI, it's a great mentor. It helps you, like it tells you what to do and you learn it. You learn it as you do it. You know, yeah. I think this is the future and you cannot stop it. You know, that's how it works. Uh,
Yeah. So on the topic of the future, what would you give advice to people considering a career in industrial hygiene, or maybe they've started a career in industrial hygiene and they're not sure which way to take it? Because I know when I started in mining, you can get kind of narrow. Like I was dealing with noise and dust and a few specialty chemicals like isocyanates, isocyanate-based foam, and so I had a very narrow kind of exposure in my first few years. But industrial hygiene is a wide, wide world, and depends on if you went into pharmaceuticals, your focus would be a lot different than if you went into oil and gas versus if you went into steel making. What would you say to young up and coming industrial hygienists?
My advice is, work hard and gather skills, because people will notice you. This is how I was hired at, HETI. It's HETI Environmental. It's actually Hydro Environmental Incorporated. So we say HETI Environmental for short. And our webpage is HETI Services. Um, but that's the idea. It's like people will notice you. I was contacted by the owner. It's his name is Hayden Solomon. One day, and he said, "Hey, do you wanna come and work for my company?" And you get a call out of the blue, and you get a good offer, and you wanna go there. But that's not just luck. It's just years and years and years. You go to college, you get good grades, you get a good scholarship, you become a CIH, and I also wrote a book about certified safety professional, certified hazardous material manager books, and ASP, the associate safety professional, and the people will notice, and they want somebody that has value. So you have to work, to get that value. Um, that's my advice. Don't put too much effort in looking. Just go do do a good job, gather the skills, and your results are gonna speak for you.
Mm,
It's way better than speaking for yourself. Uh, you know, I'm lucky. I work with a great team. We have international projects. We do environmental work. We do health and safety. We do IH. We do, risk management. We do everything. And, my boss, Dr. Mike Henderson, who's also a CIH,
mm,
he knows which project we should go, and which project we should work on. We have about 9 CIAGs working for us right now. If you're lucky, you'll get a good mentor, you'll get a good boss, and just because you put the work into it and you gave your best skills, you're gonna end up being in the best team. You know, that's how they pick in sports too. They go and they get the best players for the best teams, so
yeah.
try to become the best.
No, that's great advice, and it actually reminds me of something that Steve Jobs said about his. I think he was 12 years old and very precocious, and
Hmm.
he wanted to get involved in computers, but he didn't know how. But he knew that the guy who ran Hewlett Packard Computers lived in his
Yes.
town, and
Hmm.
he tells a story where he like looked him up in the phone book
Hmm.
and said and called him,
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I'm 12 years old. I'm building this project. I need this particular kind of equipment. I wondered if you could donate some to my project." And the guy offered him a job at
Yeah.
12 years old because he called him. So
Yeah.
I would reflect what you said is, do your best, but also put yourself out there,
Yeah.
and just, if you need a mentor and you're not finding one, ask. I mean, we're
Yes.
still connected now. You could reach out to, and I'm going to say you have to reach out. I'm going to flood your email box, but Dr. Farcas here is Daniel. He'd be happy to just steer you in the right direction, give you advice. I'd be happy to steer you in the right
Yeah.
direction, give you advice. I've had a bit of success with people just reaching out to me on LinkedIn and saying, "Hey, I'm going to quit my job and start my own consulting firm. What do you think? You've been in consulting." And I'd say, "Oh, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes." And it's people like to help,
Hmm.
and just don't be afraid to ask. And if you're doing a great job and they're going to recognize that you're ambitious In fact, when I was in Houston, we had a car service that would drive us to the airport because we were oil and gas, and that was fancy. Um, the guy who ran the service was retired from being an accountant, and he had started a limo service. His name's Jimmy. So if you see Jimmy's limo service down in Houston, highly recommend. He was from Somalia, and he flew to the United States as a teenager to go to college. And the first thing he did when he got off the plane was he went and started going to accounting firms asking for if they were hiring. He hadn't even gotten a place to stay yet. He had $50 in his pocket, went to a place and said, I'm here to study accounting and I'd like a job in accounting. And the guy's like, you've been here for 3 hours and you're looking for a job, you're hired.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, it's true. It's true. I mean, the first time I came to United States, I had $20 in my pocket,
There you
you
go.
know, and I had to go to all the stages. I was a student on student visa, and then I was on optional practical training visa, and then I was on basically on like I got the green card, and then I become a citizen. So it took me like about 12 years, to go through all these stages, but you have to hang out in there and you'll become whatever you want to be, you know. So
Yeah.
you have to go through all the steps and people will respect you, they'll understand. Yeah.
Well,
So
it has been a pleasure making your acquaintance, hearing your story, hearing the things that you're up to, Daniel. It's fantastic. I highly recommend, even though I haven't read your industrial hygiene books or your other books around the various, I think you were mentioning ASP, the CSP, the CHMM. I'm sure they're as well written as the material I have read, and I've seen you on LinkedIn for years. I've talked to Hayden a couple of times at Hetty throughout my career, just exploring options. He's a nice guy,
yes.
so I kind of think that's how I saw your profile on LinkedIn and thought this guy is really interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can talk. So I'm glad we took this opportunity to talk about it, and I'm going to do my best to get this out by Monday
Mhm.
so that we can try
Yeah,
and fill
you'll
20
never
minutes
know.
together.
Maybe we'll have you in our team at Hydro Environmental Technologies in Hattie. Because I was in ERPG committee, Emergency Response and Planning committee, the AIHA one, and over the years, we got people that were like their best in their business, their best in their field. We got them. So that's why we have one of the best CIH teams right now. So you
Very
you
cool.
never know who you're gonna end up working with. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, and that's why it's again great to reach out to people and get to know them as well as you can, because you never know what'll happen in the future.
Okay, and I want to do a gift to your listeners. You have my book, right? If you can show it, I know you have it
Sure.
right there. If anyone is interested in getting this book, again, it's God's Buried Children by Daniel Farcas. You can find it on Amazon. But if you want a signed copy, just send me your address and I'll do the rest. I'll send you a signed copy.
There you go. No
Yes,
lie, right there.
yes, it'll be my pleasure.
I appreciate it. It's like I said, being a child of the Cold War era, and all of the different things that happened in Eastern Europe and Western Europe and kind of where the world is today. And, you know, I guess one of the things that I've always taken away from having an opportunity to travel around and meet people is that 90% of us on the planet are exactly the same. You know,
Yeah,
we all want to have enough food to eat, clothes to wear, some shelter, and we want our children to do better than we did.
yes,
And that's the common thread I find with everyone. And so even reading something, that's a reflection of the difficult times under communism in Romania, uh, they're still we're all still great people. The desires that the children that you talk about in this book are the same. They wanted something better.
mhm,
So, I think that's what we're all about. And in our field, I'll make a plug for industrial hygiene. We want our workers to have a better life than they might have if we weren't looking out for health and safety on their behalf. So, uh,
Yes, that's correct. And I remember when I was in college at WVU, I remember the dean. His name was Dean Dennis Smith. He said, if we do our jobs correctly, people, they don't have to go to the doctors anymore. They don't have to go get surgeries. They don't have to go in hospitals. So that's why our job is even more important, because it comes before the doctor. If we do the right thing, we can save lives.
mm,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. So the best way for people to find you, would that be through LinkedIn?
Yes, LinkedIn. You'll see we have a newsletter there every month we published. It's called the Haiti newsletter or the Haiti Horizons.
Mhm.
I post it every month. If you want, you can write directly to me on LinkedIn. I reply in couple of hours. Because I get everything on my phone. So if there's uh, like a difficult question, I'll respond to it within, let's say, 10 minutes. If it's an impossible question, give me about a day.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So reach out to Daniel Farcas on LinkedIn for his generous offer of a free copy of God's Buried Children. I've read it. I read it one night. It's a captivating read, um, and a really great insight into experiences during that difficult time in Romania. So
And also any IH questions, that you have, I might be able to answer them. So,
there you go. If you're sitting for the exam, this guy might be able to help.
yes.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you again, Dan. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invitation, and I'll keep watching the podcast. I'm so happy to be in the Analyte studio. So,
thank you
thanks.
so much.
The Analyte podcast has been brought to you by Bureau Veritas, a world leader in testing, inspection, and certification services. Bureau Veritas has been a leading provider of industrial hygiene analytical services in North America for more than 60 years. Join us next time. I'm your host, Dan Christensen.